Man, I am excited. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. All right, so we got episode 1 officially, which is facts. So, episode 1, welcome to. Just kidding. I ain't even starting yet. Got the lo-fi playing. You already know how we rocking and rolling, baby. Not really sure where I'm gonna start or finish this. So, yeah, man. I mean, I'm just excited that we get the opportunity to do something like this. You know, have a little intimacy, be a little vulnerable on a Saturday morning. So, fun fact, it is in fact Saturday morning, like an hour before I'm supposed to upload. Figured I like wrapping the week up almost, you know, kind of in a way. Feel like it kind of flows a little bit better. So, let me get this last little cough out.
Music licensing reimagined.
Get this bad boy rocking and rolling, ladies and gentlemen. All right, welcome to This Starts With Me podcast, baby, with your boy Hakim, Big Homie, aka the only one doing this podcast, because it starts with me, it starts with us, it starts with the person on the other side of the screen, on the other side of the microphone. So welcome to the first episode, the first official episode. If you had the chance to check out the pilot, greatly appreciate all of your support. All of the feedback that I've gotten has been absolutely amazing, whether it be constructive, whether it just be, you know, loving, whether it just be whatever you want to call it. It's something that I greatly appreciate and will never take for granted. So just want to say thank you to all the lovely people out there who, you know, took the time to listen to the first 30 minutes, the episode 0, the pilot episode, that is now out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, of course, Spotify, and wherever else you may get your podcast. So we're just going to constantly improve, roll things out, and kind of, you know, see where we can take this bad boy. So welcome to the first episode, man. I'm excited. I'm glad that we are able to do it. Fun fact, most podcasts in the world, like 99.9% of them, don't go past episode 10. So you know what our goal is, episode 11. So we make it episode 11, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially one of the best podcasts in the world. So I think we're already starting out great. But just to start out this episode, first off, those will get better. My goal is, of course, to wrap up the week. It's been kind of a hellish of a week. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Not in a bad way, of course, but really just in a way of almost pushing boundaries. I feel like 2025 is getting off to an excellent start. A start of really trying to improve on every aspect. You know what I mean? So, just to be honest, your boy is tired as hell. Why am I tired as hell? Because I've been having like 12-hour days, man. I've been having like 12-hour days. So I've been taking the missus back and forth to work, which has added like an extra 30, 45 minutes on average per trip, you know. So if I'm doing that twice, then, you know, do the math, I'm doing like an extra hour and a half to 2 hours a day of just driving on top of my normal job. So it's just been a little extraneous, but I'll be honest with you, it's been so much fun, bro, because, you know, we wake up, we get our devotion on, we listen to our 10-minute Bible talk, which is another podcast on Spotify that I absolutely love. We get up, we listen to that, and then either listen to some more music, or we just sit in silence and talk about whatever the case may be, or not talk about anything at all. And that's one of my favorite things, is doing absolutely nothing sometimes, you know. One of my favorite activities with the person I love, with the people I love, is doing absolutely nothing, because I feel like, you know, our normal lives are pretty busy as is, right? So doing more on top of that can just be even more exhausting. So sometimes, man, when you with your loved ones, with your homies, with your partners, whoever it may be, your children, you just want to chill out. You know, you just want to breathe and be like, hey, let me just enjoy this rent that I'm paying for, and just relax, or, you know, really just make the most out of every situation. So, you know, with that, I think it's kind of, you know, stretched my hands a little bit in good ways, honestly. Helped me increase my patience, which is something that I am constantly trying to improve on a daily basis, you know, because being impatient really doesn't help anybody, especially with the person that you love. Forgiveness is just something that comes with the game, comes with the territory, baby. It's just something that you have to get used to always being willing to forgive, even on the smallest of levels, because if you don't, then it builds up. Now you have resentment towards anybody, right? It could be towards anything as well, right? It could be your technology, it could be your PC, it could be your pets, it could be people, family, anything like that, so I think it's always important to remember just to, in general, keep a level headed. Always stay cool, always stay calm, always stay collected, because honestly, nothing in extreme emotion really brings success. Think about the time where you got like the most mad. Did you really get what you want? Probably in that moment. I know a couple of times for me, it's like, yeah, I got what I wanted in that moment, but after the fact, I was like, I'll never want to do that shit again. B, never want to put myself in a position to even get close to that again. And then C, to the best of my ability, try to keep, the people that I care for the most out of that situation as well. So, 2025 is really the year of bringing yourself up, but you can only bring up yourself as much as you bring up the people around you, because it takes a village. And I think it takes a village until the day that you pass away, to be honest with you. So we'll make sure we go ahead and cut that out. But starting out the weekly wrap up, like I said, I've been driving a lot. So on Mondays, we hoop every single Monday. And when I say we, I'm definitely not talking about me, because I can be the most inconsistent person in the world when it comes to things like that. And that's one of my goals, not necessarily resolutions for this year. It's just one of my goals to be more consistent on all fronts, right? So because I know hooping is a passion of mine, it's really something I love doing. I've been doing it my whole life. It's really something that it's really therapy, just to be honest with you. I get to go out there and act a complete fool. Why? Because it's in a controlled environment. I won't go outside of my boundaries. Like, I know it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball. And then I'm with the homies. I'm with the homies that, I can share that extreme emotion with. I can yell and scream at them. They can yell and scream at me. We can hold each other accountable for the dumbest, smallest shit. We can hold each other accountable for the biggest things that may be either game winning or day costing or just outright frustrating, So the good thing about friendships is that as long as both people, understand the dynamic of that friendship, it usually goes pretty well. So I want to get into one story of work related stuff. So I'll be honest with you guys. I've been a little bit of a dickhead. Why? Because I've been impatient. Because I did not take care of business. Right. So just to be short, and of course I'm not going to get super in depth to it, because who really cares that much? But B, is really about the principle of the matter. So what happened was, funny enough, I was, going back and forth with a colleague of mine over email, and I was getting presented with new information that I thought I'd never seen before. Turns out I had seen it like the week prior, but nevertheless, how I interpreted the information and basically how I reacted to it was just not in a professional manner. And I learned of that the Monday after coming back to work, and it was something that I really just had to swallow. I mean, my coworker was like, hey, this was a person that really didn't even know what was going on. So, let's just try to, in a sense, not be so snappy. And of course, my first reaction was like, snappy? Like, who the snappy? Y'all haven't seen snappy, because I just feel like people are almost overreactive, including myself at times. And this was definitely a time where I was very overreactive. Just thinking about it is crazy. So Monday morning, wrote an email to everyone involved. It was like, hey, my behavior was uncalled for. It was unprofessional. And it was something that, was honestly undeserving. It was information that I failed to receive accurately and hold myself accountable for. So that's something I definitely apologize for. And, I just want you to be aware that, yes, I do know that. And yes, that, is something that will not happen again. And, the feedback that I got on that was something that was positive, which I was really appreciative of. And it seemed like something that didn't necessarily save a relationship. I'm not one to try to save, quote unquote, working relationships or any relationships in that matter, unless it's something near and dear to my heart. But in general, I mean, I just got to let God do what he do. And understanding that everyone's here for a reason and for a season, and not everyone's going to be here for your entire life. So understanding that you make the most out of it, you learn the most out of every situation, and when you find yourself wrong and being told wrong, you're probably being told that you did something wrong for a reason. So if anything, if it's not for, maybe to that degree, might be a little exaggerated, people might be capping. I get that. And, this is just me telling me this, but it's like, there's always some truth, right? Just like with jokes, like there's always some truth with jokes, right? Where it may, it always might feel a little offensive because there's probably some truth to it, right? But people, just ha kiki. And that's why I'm not really like a ha kikier, because it can lead to a lot of misinterpretations sometimes. So that was, that's just a dickhead, my weekly dickhead story time of the week. And I'm sure I'll have one every week, just because, I can be a little reactive at times, just to keep it a buck, being 1000 with you. I just feel like sometimes when people aren't necessarily thinking in the same way that I am, I can get a little closed-minded and be like, what the fuck? What are you talking about, bro? Like, what, in what sense of the world, like in what way, form, fashion did that make any sense in your head, right? And sometimes you got to understand that, yeah, like that truly was that person's honest intentions, and that's that. So I'm always a person of, believe who people say they are. And if someone is saying that they, might be a POS, then believe them. If people's actions, of course, speak louder than words, and you must pay attention to, said actions, right? So regardless of how I felt about my actions at the time, because to be honest with y'all, I was pissed off. It was a Friday afternoon. I'm, not trying to work. I'm trying to delay as much of the going back to work anxiety as possible. And then I got to deal with a bunch of BS, right? So it's just a learning moment for me. And honestly, it took me a lot of pride to swallow, because also this is not a coworker that I necessarily fancy, right? So in general, I don't care for this relationship, but thinking big picture, long term, for me personally, it's just something that I wanted to learn from and learn how to go ahead and just get over it, right? Because honestly, just got to get the fuck over it. Who cares, right? Like, it's just a mistake. At the end of the day, it is just a job, to some people, and either some people take it very far, some people don't take it, far enough. So you just gotta do that and keep it pushing. So that's my dickhead story time of the week. Thank y'all for listening. And hey, if you have one, drop it down in the comments below, or tell me, if you was a dickhead this week out of 1 through 10. I'd probably my DH rating for the week, and we'll do this on a weekly rating. My DH rating was probably like I feel like a good 5.5. I mean, I feel like, I was an average dickhead, because of, sometimes just have to be. And I feel like on other times, I've been pretty patient, pretty cool. So I'll give myself a cool 5.5. What do you give yourselves, or y'all selves? Drop that below in the comments. Let me know. And, be sure to have a great discourse on it next week in episode 2. So, yeah. So getting into this episode, the main theme of this episode that I wanted to be is just kind of being vulnerable, living in vulnerability, understanding that it's, for me, in my perspective, can't ever be a bad thing, right? Because even in the worst situations, you learn from it. Like if you're very vulnerable with a person or a group of people that you feel like, hey, should not have been that way, they learned too much information, I was too open with myself, or maybe I was too closed off, then at least that gives you the opportunity to learn more about people, learn more about yourself, which is most important. And then, teach yourself how to kind of move forward, or at least learn how to put up a wall when, it may be necessary, and then learn how to take that down when it's also necessary, right? So living in vulnerability, I feel like it's just meaning, for me personally, it's past emotional, right? It's always, honestly, I think everything stems from emotions, because again, like, emotions are something that you'll feel regardless. It's just the way that you go about your emotions, the action that succeeds the emotions is what really needs more paying attention to. And I feel like when you can almost think about the cause and effect at the same time, you're a lot easier to balance out, hit your equilibrium very quick. Or at least stay in a realm of where, hey, I can control myself, control my emotions. So yeah, living in vulnerability, always being open to questions, whether being asked questions, being like example for this podcast, right? Getting feedback. I'll be honest with you, some feedback, I was like, I ain't trying to hear that shit. Be real with you. Hey, appreciate the love. Hey, appreciate you, but I ain't trying to, I feel like I already know what I was doing, but do I know what I'm doing? Of course not. Just jumping into this thing, like with the pilot episode, did I pack a parachute? Nope. You just jump off and you just take the road how you take it. So I had to kind of check myself and be like, hey, this is just feedback, because guess what? This person took the time to listen to the episode, which nobody has to do, which you didn't expect anybody to do. And then they're actually taking the time to message you privately and say, hey, this is where I think you can, make some changes that may make it easier, better for the long run, for you, for the podcast, for the goal that I see you want to achieve. So once I put that in my mindset and kind of flip that perspective, so I'll bet I'm willing, I'm open and willing to everything. So if anything, it helped me put myself in positions to be more vulnerable to just public stuff, private stuff, especially in my relationships with my family, with, my growing family, which is, what I call my friends. Cause I feel like that's where, grassroots from the sandbox, you grow up together, definitely your family, no matter if it's blood or not. So I just feel like when you're living in vulnerability, you're kind of living life for the nose, because if you only do things when you're told yes, it's like you'll never get anywhere worth being at. Right. So it's kind of like the yes men thing. If you have a bunch of yes men around you, will you really get where you need to? Maybe. Realistically, probably. I mean, in the movies, right, if they have a bunch of yes men around you, it's always with the rich guy. But just to say, to get in that position, is incredibly rare. So it's just, me personally, I don't ever, think to see myself in that position, because my definition of rich goes way deeper than financial or, monetary status. I just try to be rich in spirit, which I think can overall make you rich. Right? Because if you're rich in spirit and you're rich in your actions and rich in your habits and you're rich in kind of everything else that balances out, then yeah, like the money's going to come. I just feel like the money's always going to come as long as you stay down 10 toes, and take care of yourself, then everything has to be okay. Right? And especially for situations where, like, you're trying to gain money, where, you're trying to finish a contract, trying to do a job, trying to complete a task. Like, if you do it once, and guess what, you can do it 1,000 times. Like, it's okay. Like, you're great. I promise you that you're great. And oftentimes you're a lot better than most of the people around you at what you're doing, especially if you have the awareness to want to do better, to want to always improve and drive for that passion and strive for that goal, and always try to jump off the porch and put yourself in vulnerable positions and positions to be told no, because when that one door closes, the saying, the other one opens up. So never let a a glass house be yours, because people can throw stones at it. So always try to build your fort and try to do what you got to do, protect yourself. But I feel like when we hear protect ourselves, we often go into the mode of defense. And I'll just get into it. So speaking of the modes of defense, so me and my mother, boy, I got a story for y'all. So my mother, love her to death, me and my mother have had a very interesting relationship growing up, just because it's not that it's uncommon, it's just that it's not normal. And then once you learn that it's not normal, you try to lead your life in a more normal way. And for me, normal is leading with love, right? Leading with the attitude of, hey, I forgive you, I forgive me first off, and then I forgive everything that I can't control, right? When I try to lead with love, sometimes you're going to be met with opposing forces, and sometimes that's going to be your own parents. And for the first time in my life, I really felt like my own mother was going against me for leading with love, and it was just something that was very confusing And I'll give y'all guys some more backstory. So she texted me like a couple days ago, just saying, hey, what's going on with the family? Because, I've been more involved this past couple of years because, Pop was passing, right? So Pop passed. I'm like, hey, life is a little too short just to sit here and be mad about stuff that I don't even remember what I'm mad at. B, don't care to be mad at anymore. And then C, just it doesn't do anything good for me if I put negative energy on purpose for something that requires positive energy and love, then in turn I'm only hurting myself, right? And for the first time I felt like I had to explain that to my own folks. Having to explain that to the person that brought you into this world and the person that can take you out is very scary for me, just because I've had to be the man in the house since I was like 10, so I didn't really get to be the child. So I've always had to have the harder conversations, always had to butt heads with the person running the house and stuff like that. So what happened was she was texting me about my involvement with the family and how it's increased, and basically how she felt like I almost flipped sides. Right now, if you're listening, you're like, how do you flip sides on your own family? Now, my mother feels like she has been, not the black sheep, but she feels like, the rest of the family treats her different, to which I'll be, honest, they do, for whatever reason that may be. Honestly, I've never entertained it. Why? Because I lead with love. I don't care. I'm a grown man. Matter of fact, I'm a grown ass man. A man with responsibilities and obligations and tasks to do on a daily basis that don't involve anyone else. And if it involves anyone else, it involves the people in my household, right? So when I'm thinking about my family that doesn't even live in this state, mom is in Ohio, grandma, uncle, aunt is in Texas, other aunt is in Arkansas, her child is in Arizona, and her 2 children are in Arizona as well. So what I did recently was send my boy cousin, my little homie, some monster truck hoodies. Right? Things were fire. About $26 on Amazon. Got there in the next 2 days. Asked grandma to wrap them up for me. No problems, right? Tell me why my mother brought that up as a point of contention, as if it's something to be negative about, or like it was a negative action, or how I felt like she interpreted it was that I did it in spite of her somehow, like me buying my cousin a hoodie. And mind you, I have 3 cousins. One is a boy, and I've only met him. I haven't met the other 2 girls, or if I did, it was only when the oldest was born. So all in all, obviously, if I'm trying to lead with love, follow the Bible more, be more just loving in general, because when I do lead with love, life gets a lot better. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier. Then that's what I really want to do. That's how I really want to live my life, right? So when I did that, of course, I had no intentions on ever having feedback that it would be negative to anybody. If anything, everybody told me, hey, thank you. He loved the hoodie. I just cared if he liked the damn hoodies or not. Did he like the hoodies? Yeah. I don't even, guess what, y'all? I doubt he even know that it came from me. Why? Because it's not like I sent it in a package with, from Hakim, from your big cousin. Like, no, hey, it's Christmas. You're a kid. You deserve some gifts. Why? Because you're a kid. I like to give. And we're going to call it a day, right? Never in my life that I think that I'd be vilified for buying my cousin a hoodie. So on the other side of this podcast, yes, what you're listening to is completely accurate. I promise you, it's crazy, right? So she texted me, hey, you've been acting different ever since my, grandma came into town, which is not true. But, I responded, took my time. I was like, Mom, you basically, you and grandma are the only people that I talk to on a regular basis, and me just buying my cousin a gift, and all of this is really just not a problem. I go about my business and call it a day, right? So I really just felt like there was not even anything to talk about, right? So, and if you agree or disagree, let me know. I promise you, I definitely want some more feedback on how you guys feel about the situation, because in my mind it's just like, fuck we talking about, bro? I'm not Like, what are we talking about, dude? I don't have time. I don't have energy. And that's the thing. Actually, I do have time. I don't have energy, bro, because the energy that I'm trying to expel goes into stuff that's actually important and significant in my life, right? Like the energy that I spent to show the love and spread the love is way more exhausting, or I'm trying to put more effort into doing that than putting effort into stuff that's going to completely drain me, like being negative and fighting with my own parent, right? So just to get on with the story, I text her, hey, really ain't that, basically ain't that big of a deal. I'm going about my business, call it a day, right? And then she turns into, oh, basically you turn on me, you ain't never on my side about nothing. You're in your own little world unless somebody contacts you. And, honestly, what that did? Pissed me right on off. And it pissed me off like it was a regular person in the street. Actually, people in the street don't even piss me off. It pissed me off like an old friend who, just kind of pushes those buttons when you kind of been beefing for a while. And you're like, all right, bro, let's just go ahead and call this a day. It was one of those feelings, right? So took me a while to respond. I'm sitting there texting, and, of course I understand. It's like, hey, she's probably, emotional right now. People are people. We are humans. We have emotions. We are all vulnerable regardless, right? So am I going to fight with my own mother? No, I'm not fighting with you, bro. I fought with you my whole life. I'm not doing that with you. That doesn't make any sense, right? So now that I'm growing and understand how to lead with love, how to understand emotions, how to take someone else's emotions and even try to handle those and flip it back to a point of, hey, we can actually improve, and it's actually not that big of a deal, it's not that bad, then that's kind of the mindset, the perspective that I like to hold. So I don't know, honestly, y'all, I responded. I was like, hey, my life is purely based on love and trying to spread that as far as possible, just like the Bible says. And just like the Bible also says is, honor your parents, honor your family. I'm not going to fight with you, and fighting with you would only take us backwards in our relationship, right? Trying to improve it, trying to keep that strong. And I just don't want to do that. And if you feel like, I'm not supporting you, then I apologize. And if that's somewhere where I have to improve, then that's what I'm looking to do, right? And it's just something that took me a long time just to respond. Again, now I am pissed. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I am hot, hotter than fish grease, hotter than Takis, hotter than a Georgia summer day at Piedmont Park with no clouds in the sky, right? Just hot. And I'm like, you know what? Again, I'm not gonna fight with my own mom, who's in Ohio. I can't even get like the reaction that I want, right? Like it's not like I'm fighting you in person, or we here talking in person and cussing each other out in person, or like that. I don't even get the enjoyment from it, right? I don't even get the enjoyment from it because you all the way in Ohio, bro. Like, what am I gonna do? Texting back and forth with you like we're back in high school? No, absolutely not. Not going for it. We'll never be going for it. So, and honestly, that's just how I felt about it. So I, kind of deaded it there and was like, hey, I love you. I'll always love you. You're my first love. You're my mother. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. If there's anything that I can do to help you feel better, then hey, we'll chat about it, chat about it another time. Am I still pissed? Of course. I'm just being vulnerable. I'm a person that not necessarily holds grudges, but it's just like, forgive, never forget. And if I do forget, there will always be something to remind me of it. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. And again, you guys let me know. And I feel like that's just something that was a real big hitter in my week that, kind of pissed me off, but helped me understand, like, hey, to lead with love doesn't mean that it's easy. If anything, it's much harder to lead with love, because I feel like we in a society where negativity is often celebrated, right? Like people get famous off of fighting. I mean, fighting's a sport, right? And then like teachers don't get paid like $1, so it's just like the things that we as a people focus. And hey, me too, I love a good UFC fight. Somebody getting, arm bar, locked out, choked out. Ooh, I get it, but personally, you gotta choose peace. You gotta lead with peace. You gotta live in peace. And I think that's just something that you always gotta kind of, keep on your mind, keep on your shoulders. And, with that, I think that kind of helps me with complete my resolutions of last year where, I really felt like in some of my friendships, I was dropping the ball. Like I wasn't really being a friend's friend. And this is something that, I've talked to my other friends about, talked to Jasmine about. And it's just something that, I was really trying to improve, especially getting into this year, was like the people who are pouring into me, I got to pour into them back, because that's what love means, right? Just like with Christmas, the meaning of Christmas is to give, right? To give to the less, to those who don't have, to those who may have a little bit less, to those who may have more, and you just want to give something sentimental. I feel like the world is really about giving, because think about it. What do you have that was purely gained from you? And of course I'm asking myself this, and it's like, sure, like there's some things, but gifts that I still cherish and are able to utilize to this day. I've been gifted beds, shoes, like just stuff that I never thought that someone would want to give away. Thrifted stuff, which I think is another form of a gift, because it's like, hey, this is something that you felt like it wasn't valuable and I found value in it. So there's a gift in that, right? So giving and love and learning how to give love is something that I feel like is very important, should always be very important. And I think it's something that I feel like if more people led with it, anger would be less, forgiveness would go up, and there probably a lot less crazy shit happening in this world. And speaking of crazy shit in this world, bro, these fires in California, y'all, so literally, this is on Saturday, January 11th. Yesterday, or the day before, Thursday, 1/9, pulled up a map of California just on Google Maps. There was 5 separate fires going on and killing the whole state, bro. And I just think, A, that is wild. B, something fishy going on. And C, I think it's just a time where, again, you're going to see both sides of the spectrum. You're going to see a lot of hate, and then you're going to see a lot of love, right? You're going to see people who have lost every single thing that they ever worked for, but they have their family. And then you're going to see people who may have, so their house may have miraculously survived, but everybody around them is burned to the ashes, So I just feel like it's really a moment where people got to dig deep, find something that they believe in, and and stick to that. Not to say like, oh, the end of the world is coming, and something crazy like that. But sometimes when you look at things, it's like Georgia's freezing. We have snow literally on the ground as I'm recording this episode, and then California's on fire. So it's kind of like a Mortal Kombat zone. It's kind of like 2012 when you think about it, at least in my perspective, because I just feel like it's just craziness all around. But prayers, love and safety to all of those affected. And I just pray that everybody involved is okay. And I did also want to touch on just one fun fact, that insurance is a scam, will always be a scam. And yeah, do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? There is no way. There's $456 billion worth of claims already being made, and the insurance companies only have $700 million in cash on hand to help people's out. Just to put that in perspective, right? If you have 5 people needing a house, and you only have, and you promise and you guarantee these 5 people a house, and it turns out you only have materials to build one house, do you know how pissed all of these families are going to be? Not even pissed, straight SOL, out of luck, my brother. Are you kidding me, bro? There's no way. And then on top of that, California literally did not have water to put the fires out. Do y'all know how crazy that is? They literally did not have water to put the fires out. So not only do y'all not have water to put 5 fires out, y'all don't have money to help the people whose houses are ashes build back up in any way, shape, or form. And mind you, not everybody in Los Angeles is rich. I got a homie out there. I like to think he makes some good bread, but rich, I don't think we classify ourselves as rich at this time in our lives, but I think he's okay. But even then, there's poor people everywhere. There's poverty everywhere. There's the less fortunate everywhere. So if you're telling me that the city doesn't even have money to build anything back up, I mean, it looks like GTA is literally burned to the ground. The map that you imagine on GTA, when you go up on the beach past like the Malibu area, the palm trees under the bridge, and you got the East Coast 95 radio station playing, yeah, burned to the ground. It looked like a Call of Duty zombie map out there, to be honest with you. And I just, again, man, it's just nothing to make light or fun of. I just think honestly it's ridiculous in the society that we live in. And sometimes it's like people's eyes are opening, but at the same time it's like, what can you do, right? What can you do going against the powers that have always been there? So you know what I do? I just turn to the Lord and call it a day, to be real with y'all. But back to the topic, being a friend's friend was really something that I am going to take serious this year, and understanding that, hey, people who take the time to love you, you got to take the time to love them. And the second that you start wasting time on the people who don't love you instead of those who do, then you're messing everything up, because you're not focusing on what you thought that you wanted, right? It's kind of like the 80-20 rule that they say it happens in relationships, where like the guy, he will leave the woman. Actually, we got this from a Tyler Perry movie. But people do say this in real life. It's like a married couple. The guy will leave the wife who has 80% of everything that he could ever want, dream, desire, and he'll leave that partner, and go for another partner who only has 20% of what the other woman didn't have, right? So, and most times that's like what, looks, or maybe money, or maybe, I don't know, maybe something just superficial, who knows? But I tell you what, it's very real in just friendships and just in general, everything that you do in your life is like, okay, if you don't understand what you have now, you for sure will understand it when you lose it. And I'm not a person who likes losing things. I like to keep my stuff. And, the folks who love me and the folks that I know I love them, I definitely want to keep them, here for the rest of my days. And that's something that, I try to hold myself accountable for, and understanding that I got to lead with love to do that. Right. And instead of trying to change the situation that happens to me, maybe I just got to change me. Right. So it's just about looking in and understanding that, hey, if I try to change me instead of try to change in the situation, maybe the situation will look a little different. Right. Maybe it may not be the same situation that I was first expecting it to be. Maybe it was just me and how I looked at that situation. So that's just something I just try to keep in the back of my mind when things go on. And, I think about, not wanting to go hoop, or canceling on plans, or things like that, or not want to go see the homies for just like 30 minutes or so. It's just like, okay, well, what else do you expect to happen? People to just come live in your complex? Or are you just going to change you and say, hey, let me make this sacrifice, this 30-minute-hour sacrifice, and call it a day and handle my business and do what I got to do? So being a friend's friend, for me, holding myself accountable, and, friends friend, when I said I mean that for, my family too, extended family, the family that I've been able to grow with, been able to encounter and have in my life. I really think that is something that should help everybody out. I think it's something that everybody may want to take a look at. If you feel like some of your relationships are maybe falling, or maybe you feel like, hey, I'm really kind of spending a lot of time alone. Because me personally, I'll spend weeks in the house alone by myself, and it'll feel like a blink of an eye. I promise you, I will not notice it. It'll get through holidays. It'll get through birthdays, and I'll be chilling, and I'll be absolutely chilling. But is that good? No. Because do people want to see you? Of course. And I'm not just talking to myself. I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The person that don't want to hit up nobody, but want everybody to hit you up. Yeah, you got to hit them up. Just ask them how things are going. It's okay. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. And I feel like, just take that step, that leap of faith, Like we're doing with this podcast, this starts with me. It has to start with me. I got to change me, and then maybe the situation will get a little better. And then if I have to change the situation, hey, I got to change the situation, but I can't make that judgment accurately if I don't try to change me first, right? So this has to start with me. This starts with me. And I feel like accountability and holding yourself accountable is a power. It's a superpower. It's not a punishment, right? A lot of people say, oh, you need to learn how to hold yourself accountable. You're not holding yourself accountable. And I'll say accountable 1,000 motherfucking times until I find a new word. But holding yourself to a place of honor, of integrity, of good character is just something I feel is important, even from a wee age, just from a young age of saying, hey, being disciplined will never be a negative thing, because when you're disciplined and then you're motivated on top of that, you can do literally whatever that you want to do in this world. But if you're lacking either of the two, you will probably absolutely be lacking motivation. But if you're lacking the discipline at that, then nothing will move. There will be no motion in the ocean. And I think slow motion is better than no motion, right? So you might as well try it. Might as well jump out the porch and try it. Hold yourself accountable and be like, you know what? Even if this truly has nothing to do with me, I'll go ahead and say, hey, I could have did something a little bit different, maybe yesterday, last week, last month, last year, that maybe could have helped me be in a better situation right now. So accountability is a power, not a punishment, always and forever. And, I just want to take the time again to, talk about the folks that I love and shout out some of the people in my life. My boy Not That Nate, man. I mean, he's really been a big motivator for me in understanding that. And really, like, the feedback thing is really almost from him, because I'll just shoot ideas at him and he'd be like, no, I'm not fucking with it. But, this is where I kind of feel like an improvement can be made. And again, I hate that shit because I hate no, right? Nobody wants to be told no. But if you can take that no, that initial emotional response you get from that, and say, hey, this is your homie, this is your brother, it's never out of hate, you'll be fine. So everything that he says, I've been taking it to heart and be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually try and do this thing to the best of my ability and really stay on top of it. Because again, as long as we get to episode 10, baby, and we get to rolling and rocking and rolling, we get some guests on this thing, man, we're gonna be, I'm telling you, we're gonna be good, yo. We're gonna be fantastic. So, and I think this episode is going quite swell as well. So I think my boy Nate has a lot to do with that discipline factor of it, of like, hey, I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you feedback about it. I'm going to let you know that I'm expecting to have it on Saturday morning, when I'm out here doing my things. And that's something that I could never, disvalue, something I could never not be appreciative of. And it's just something that I feel like will always keep me pushing. So now I want to get into a couple of shout outs. We then got our socials up a little bit. All right, so we are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube with video, and by video is literally just a logo on the screen. In terms of the video component, I do want to start doing video eventually. It really just matters on the space that I have and the space that I can make best for a little podcast studio. Of course, I got things cooking, but it really is going to take a little bit of time. And also I got to make sure that I get used to this and actually like want to continue doing it. Obviously it's a passion, and I know it's something that I can honestly truly envision myself doing. I can see that vision, but I got to make sure that I handle the basics first. You got to start a little small, then you build bigger. And nobody like eats the cake from the middle of the cake, right? You take a little slice and you do what you got to do with it, and if you want more, you get any more. So new equipment and stuff like that is always on the way. I'm always trying to improve and progress, because progress has to grow. Growth has to grow. So I think putting this out on multiple platforms, so that way, hey, if you enjoy this and your homie don't got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, take it on YouTube. Or if you're at work and you can log in on YouTube real quick, or just throw this up in the background, hey, do your thing. And I really think we can get this thing jumping off, to a rather quick pace. So yeah, man, I think honestly, I think that might be it. I think that might be it, y'all. So Yeah. This episode was recorded on a new microphone, so hopefully I don't sound as ass. Now, if it sounds like I was moving all over the place, I was. I'm a very animated person. So, fun fact: when I ordered some equipment, all this snow had came in, and then they weren't able to deliver my arm and filter to the door for this new mic. So, bear with me. We will always continue improving. Based on the feedback from the last episode, it didn't even sound like something that many people cared about. So maybe it seems like y'all kind of like it a little bit, So as always, just keep letting me know what y'all think about this thing, man. I think we can get to episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get some M's in the bank account and then be rocking and rolling. So my only request for y'all is to continue being yourselves, right? Continue being yourselves. Continue leading with love. Live in vulnerability. Understanding that blessings come both from the Lord and from the other side. And I actually I'll jump into that real quick. So I was talking to the missus about it one day, and I forget what exactly we were talking about, but basically just got to the principle. It was like, hey, people don't understand that you'll be blessed with the stuff that you need and don't need, right? And I think if you kind of think about it a little bit, like, it makes sense, right? So depending on how religious you are, and of course, like, hey, if you're not, feel free to jump off this mud, which is cool. I really ain't gonna get too deep in it, but the good side, when you get blessed from the good side, sometimes it doesn't always look like it because it doesn't always feel like it in that moment, right? But when you get blessed, it's almost just really just instant gratification versus delayed gratification, right? The stuff that you get instantly that makes you feel good, that dopamine hit when you hit that drug, or you hit that, that speed in that car, or you play that game, or you hit that stream, or you hit that record button, like that high that you get, or maybe when you work out, you finish a run, you go to work, whatever it is that brings you some form of happiness at that moment is instant gratification, right? But on the other side of it is delayed. The other side of it is delayed gratification, where the stuff that you do now, like working out, when you get that dopamine hit, but guess what? You're not going to see the effects of the working out until months, years down the line, depending on your consistency, right? So be careful sometimes, because the stuff that you would do much better in having a delayed gratification, if you get that right now, you'll fuck it up. Because guess what, y'all? I'll be real with y'all. If I won the lottery right now, if I was making $100,000, $200,000 a year, I'd be making some poor decisions, right? And I think that's important for me to understand, because now I get to learn and grow how to utilize what I got, maximize what I have right now to the best of my abilities. And then when I get more, when I'm blessed with more, I'll be ready for it. So I just feel like there's nothing worse than being blessed with what you wanted at the wrong time. Whether that goes for the most cherished stuff, like possessions and items based on financial status, or even like your relationships, right? What they say, wrong time, right person, or something like that. Right person, wrong time. I've experienced that. Those who know me know that I've experienced that a couple of times with the same person. So it's one of those things where you understand instant versus delayed, and the stuff that's really worth it, it's probably going to be delayed, but the stuff that you have right now, make sure that you use it to get to where you want to be for where it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm just yapping in general, because of course this is an episode where I'm talking to everybody and nobody about everything and nothing at the same time. So yeah, man, I think with that, be vulnerable, lead with love, understanding that the stuff that you get right now, use that to get better for the stuff that you'll really want later on. Always be open to taking some feedback. Live in the vulnerability. Understand the vulnerability is where you want to be. You want to be open to love and being loved. Because if you're closed off and you're negative and you don't want to do nothing, you don't like nobody, you don't want nobody liking you, then yeah, guess what? You're going to have people who feel that same way. But misery also loves company, right? When it rains, it pours. So
Music licensing.
you might as well, try your best. Just try your best. Be you. Try your best. But understand that trying you and being your best means that you have to be vulnerable. You can't have the wall up and then claim that you're trying to be the best. Because guess what? There's always going to be someone better, faster, stronger, smarter, more money, looking better, acting better, talking better than you. So you might as well not even worry about it. You might as well not even give a fuck, to be real with you. And that's what I have to tell myself on a daily basis when I look at myself in the mirror. It's like, hey, realistically, when I leave these doors, don't nobody care about what I'm doing except me, my loved ones, and the big man above, right? So if I focus on those, change me if I change me, if I love me, focus on me, focus on my loved ones, then maybe that situation will get a little better. Maybe that situation will get a little easier. Maybe that situation that you thought was a situation was never really a situation at all. And mind you, again, these are things I just have to tell myself on a day-to-day basis, So, yeah, man, hey, stay 10 toes down, but always keep your head up. And I think for this podcast, it starts with me. This starts with us. This is a beautiful thing that we're starting here. And I think it didn't start in me. It doesn't start outside of me. It don't start by nobody else. It's not with nobody else, because it truly starts with me, and it truly starts with you. And guess what? It means it starts with us, right? So anything that we can do in this world, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you that we can do. Yeah, it's your boy Big Homie Hakim, man. I am signing off. I think this was a really fun episode. Again, I definitely got some more social medias up: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, of course, Spotify Podcasts. Wherever else you may get your podcast, we'll go ahead and release this bad boy out there. So new equipment on the way. Check out my boy Nate's Twitch. His channel link is in the bio as well, on everything. His link will be everywhere. So live in the vulnerability, y'all. Lead with love and live in vulnerability. Okay. And that's it for me. Love y'all. Peace out, man.